strong, fierce, vulnerable, misunderstood,
fiercely talented,
elusive,
idiosyncratic,
unusually brilliant,
inspirational,
incredible,
wonderfully passionate,
reckless,
impatient,
rebellious, sensitive, magical,
intuitive, inquisitive, observant, imaginative, bold, creative, and quietly intelligent.
Action.
Emily is a film about Emily Brontë. It's also a film about the Brontë sisters, the years leading up to how Emily Brontë writing Wuthering Heights.
Action.
There were certain things in Emily's life that I also felt I identified with happening in mine. And I just wanted to make a film that kind of redressed the balance and really put Emily at the middle of it, looked at who she was in a way that was kind of very full and celebratory.
The film is a sort of a coming of age story. We sort of follow Emily over the course of a couple of years. It's not a biopic per se, it's loosely based on real events that happened in her life and the Brontë family's life, intertwined with elements of Wuthering Heights, which is the book that she wrote.
This telling of Emily Brontë isn't like a traditional biopic. It's much more a poetic, imagined essence of the Brontë sisters.
It's not quite what people might imagine.
This story hasn't ever been told this way.
It's a wonderfully passionate story.
It's a fantastic script that really imagined and captured the spirit and the essence of how Emily could have been.
I wanted to tell a story about somebody who's really trying to find out who they are in a really authentic way, in a really deep way.
Emily is about a girl growing into a woman who's finding her voice and her authentic power and place in the world.
It humanises the Brontes so well, and it really humanises Emily.
We see her start off as this timid, shy, she's a very observant girl, and she's sort of seeking her father's approval and doesn't really know what her place in the family is and what her place in the world is. But she's very imaginative and curious and wants to tell all these stories. And over the course of the time frame of the film, we see her evolve and we see her develop relationships with her brother and Mr. Waitman, and her relationships with her sister evolve and change, and her relationship with herself and her imagination and her confidence. And so that's kind of what we observe as her trajectory and her evolution into a woman.
Emma Mackey is a legend.
I mean, you feel desperately sad in the sad moments and incredibly happy when she's at her happiest.
Emma is really, really quite special in what she's done with Emily. And I mean, all of them, Ali and Amelia and Finn, incredible. I do genuinely feel, I think we all do, we all feel quite lucky.
It's just a really interesting story that's going to be played out by some fantastic actors. Also, just the scenery, the locations are breathtaking. I mean, sometimes we all had to just stop some days and look around. Look where we are. This is just the most beautiful place.
Audiences can expect a roller coaster of emotions, showing different aspects of people's lives and like love and heartbreak and death, going back to the 1800s.
What people can take away from it is that it's okay to be different and it's okay not to conform to other people's expectations.
It has been so wonderful to work with Frances. I've always wanted to work with more female directors and also with as an actor turned director. So as soon as I saw Frances was directing this, before I'd even read it, I wanted to work with her. And then when I read it, I connected so much to the material. And I felt in such safe hands knowing that she had the vision for the film, and the whole way through, she knows exactly what she wants, but then she's really collaborative and able to let you play, which has just been fantastic. And she really understands the filming process from the actor's point of view, which of course is invaluable for us.
I really, really respect her. I think she's a brilliant director and an amazing writer.
It's always wonderful working with directors who have written the script.
It's been a really interesting kind of working relationship, because she's got so much knowledge and she's got so much, she feels so much about how it's been written.
Obviously, Frances had written the script and spent 10 years crafting this amazing screenplay, and just to put so much research into it. And I think she just knew exactly what she wanted.
I've always loved the Brontes. I've always loved Wuthering Heights and Jane Eyre. I took the opportunity to go up to Yorkshire for the first time and visit Haworth, and it was so evocative up there, and I walked out on the moors and I thought, oh, I'd love to write something one day. And there were certain things in Emily's life that I also felt I identified with happening in mine, or certain things that I think thematically are kind of part of Wuthering Heights and her life that I also relate to, and I think a lot of women would relate to. So the kind of idea came from that, kind of half her life, half Wuthering Heights, and a little bit of things from my life.
It was very important for me, obviously, to sort of get inside Frances's head and try and understand sort of what was important for her. We started with visits to the parsonage, which is in a village called Haworth, and this was incredibly important for both myself, for Frances, just in terms of sort of getting a feel for their day-to-day lives and what it might have been like living in the parsonage. Once we had the location for the parsonage picked, there was quite a lot of modifications that we had to do, and it was really useful for, I think, myself and also for Frances to sort of do some previs sketches, concepts, which I did of the main sort of parlour room in the parsonage and the study. And this was useful, I think, for everybody really, just to sort of get a flavour of the spaces. One thing that was really important for myself and for Frances was to really be quite selective about our sort of exterior locations and making sure that we really sort of showed off the Yorkshire moors as best we could.
It comes sort of gradually, and it's organic. So all you have is a script and an empty room, and you start by researching, and then you find some things you like. So you pull that one image, maybe put it with Emily, one for Anne, one for Charlotte, find more, separate them. You're staying focused on the fact that you are making a film, not a documentary, and so you keep it within the character. The best way to work is with the actor. So when Emma comes, you'll have made one thing, and we have reference to show, just so she can get in the spirit and know what these kind of things are going to be like to wear and which ones would probably work better on her. Also, we looked at original dresses of Emily's and Charlotte's that exist still today. There's lots at Haworth in their museum of their jewellery.
So I got the script and realised that the date time frames, I also got the time frame from Frances where she had set the script. So from then on I just went and tried to get as many books as I could on the Brontes, and also around the period that they had lived, to just trying to get a feel for how the characters may look, and trying to get as many reference pictures, some of the paintings that Bramwell had done of them, and just as much historical stuff as I could.
While I was lighting, I was always trying to make things feel as unlit as possible. We were using quite a lot of natural light. Also, when we were lighting, using a lot of diffusion, it felt hopefully as unlit as possible. And that was for the day work. And then for the night work, to sort of work with the naturalists, and we used a lot of candlelight. So we used a lot of candles, and we created sort of bespoke kind of candle rigs that we would bring in. And then we'd just augment the candlelight with some LED units that had been, sort of softened down. So the approach with the composition, I'd say it was kind of there in the DNA of the plan that Frances and I made when we were talking through shots and prep. But as you kind of work through the film, it kind of takes on its own language, and we kind of ended up shooting what we called tableaus. So these quite sort of precise, wider shots where characters and objects are quite carefully arranged to create. The idea was to almost create a painting.
I think what I'm interested in exploring is authenticity. What is it to be authentic in this world, when so much of what we experience these days is about how we present ourselves, and it's so much part of our society now. And I'm sure for young people, it must be very anxious making, I think. So I wanted to tell a story about somebody who's really trying to find out who they are in a really authentic way, in a really deep way.